Hello, incoming first years to the School of Journalism. I'm Dr. Nicole Blanchett, an associate professor. You can just call me Nicole. I'm also one of the undergrad program liaisons and, in fact, the undergrad program liaison for first year. So we'll be spending a lot of time together over the next few months. I am joined by a wonderful student panel now, and they are going to share their experiences about their first year in the School of Journalism. First, we have Sanya Ali, who's going to talk about her experiences and also about the JCU, which is a student organization that she'll tell you more about a little bit later. Then we have Saturn Steele Mendez, another student going into second year. Going to the bottom row, we have Madeline Liao, who is going into second year student who also writes for the Eye Opener, and she'll talk a little bit more about the Eye Opener later on in our video. And last but not least, we have Bana Yurgalam, who is the social media coordinator for JCU and also going into second year. Thank you so much for joining us today. What is the most important thing you think students coming into first year in the School of Journalism need to know? And we'll start with Sanya.
I think the most important thing that first year should know that I wish I knew is to not really compare yourself to other people right away. Like when you're coming into the program, a lot of people are in a different place than you are. A lot of people may have blogs, they may be doing things over the summer. Like when I came in, I wasn't really doing anything. So I was like feeling like I was really behind. So I think just making sure you give yourself time to transition into online learning at university, because it definitely does take time and it takes a minute to kind of get used to the whole platform and everything. So just don't be too hard on yourself and make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to transition into the new way of learning.
All right, and we'll go to Saturn next. And Saturn, what we want to know is, what do you think the most important thing it is for students who are coming into their first year at the School of Journalism to know?
Well, especially when you're doing online learning, I think the most important thing you need to know is yourself. I think you need to know how to manage your time as best as you can. You'll learn because it's a transition for everybody. But if you can try to listen to your body, listen to yourself when you're feeling overloaded, when stories are affecting you emotionally, when things become too much, take a step back because it's just school, you'll be okay. And also it's online learning, the profs are super understanding, so go easy on yourself because it's only first year.
Awesome advice from both of our panelists so far. No pressure, Madeline and Bana, but you are up next. So Madeline, what do you have to add to that?
I feel like one thing that I really wish I knew is that you're not going to know everything. In fact, you're going to feel like you know almost nothing, but that's okay because you're here to learn. And that's kind of the biggest takeaway I could take away from first year. Because personally, me in high school, I was kind of like, I felt like I knew a lot, but in reality, there's a lot that you haven't learned yet. And that's why you're going into the School of Journalism, because you want to learn more and allow yourself to kind of learn and progress as a journalist and as a student rather than feel kind of stuck in the sense like, oh, but I should already know this. Oh, but why don't I already know this? Because you don't, and that's okay, because then in the future you will.
Those are awesome points as well. All right, Bana, you're up.
Okay. Well, I believe that when you come into the School of Journalism, you should be authentically yourself because I feel like a lot of people tend to think like it's a competition and everyone has to be the same, but really honestly, you being different is what makes you stand out in journalism. It makes you stand out as a person. I believe, like, for example, like I came into the program kind of like hesitant of being myself because I'm a little loud and outgoing, but then I realized that that's what makes me stand out, and that's why people like notice me, is because I'm out there. So I feel like that's something that a lot of students tend to fear doing because they feel like the fear of judgment. And journalism is like, the field of journalism is like, it's, I guess, kind of judgy. Like people are going to judge your work no matter what. You're going to have people on the outside reading your work and they're going to give you hard criticism. But honestly, realize that it's just you're writing, it's you're being yourself, you're writing about what you want, but also you got to realize that criticism is kind of what helps you build up as a person, as a writer. Because I believe the criticism that I got in my labs in 103 and 105, I believe, yeah, 105, yes. I got a lot of criticism. My writing was not good. It was pretty like bad, but I learned from it, and now I'm a better writer. So yeah.
Wow, what excellent points. And a few things that I just wanted to comment on a little bit that I think are really important to reinforce. The idea that you have time, that this isn't a sprint, it's a 4-year program. You are going to come in not knowing a lot about journalism and the best strategies for writing and a lot of other things, but that's okay. I recently finished my PhD a few years ago, and one of the things that I know, the more that I learn, the less that I know. There is so much to learn. And I think one of the important things about being a journalist is considering yourself a lifelong learner, being open to new ideas, always being willing to explore new ideas and different viewpoints. So that's all very, very important. And the other two things I wanted to really stress were the being yourself. I know as a teacher, there is nothing I enjoy more than being in a classroom where students are contributing and sharing their opinions and their ideas. And there'll be lots of opportunities for you to do that in JRN 103 through things like the You Have the Floor presentations, which I'll talk about another time. But where I genuinely want to know what students think and how they feel so that I can learn and my perspective can broaden as well. So really, it can be intimidating, especially with a class of 150 people, but do know that everyone is interested in knowing you, not what you think they might want to know, but we really want to know you and hear what you have to say. And the last important point is the mental health aspect of this. It has been a horribly stressful year for everyone. So I think that we need to acknowledge that this is hard. We still are going to be online in the fall for this particular course 103, and for other big classes, and most classes probably, as we transition back to in-person. So give yourself a break. Talk to your teachers if you're having trouble with things. Reach out to staff and faculty. Everybody is there to support you to get through this first year, and everybody wants you to succeed. So it is, it's the beginning of a journey, and it's a journey where you're going to grow and learn new things, and it'll be challenging. Writing is always hard. My writing gets cut up all the time still. You just learn from it and grow. And again, as Banna was saying, constructive criticism, take what you can from it and become a better writer. So yay, first part done. Now we're going to move on to talk about what do you think was the hardest part of your first year in the School of Journalism? We'll go in the same order again. So Sonia, you're up.
I think the thing I personally found the most hardest in the first year was balancing life and my work. Like I thought it would be super easy because everything was online, but then I found that I was talking to my friends online, I was doing my work online. So it was really hard to kind of take a break. And at certain points of the semester, it became like really difficult for me to keep track of what I had coming up. And in my mind, it felt like so much work that I had and so many readings that I had. So I really recommend keeping a planner and keeping your priorities in check, like maybe being like, this is what I really have to get done because it's due the closest to where I'm at right now. Because it's super easy to just keep putting things off and then really overwhelm yourself and be like, oh my God, I have a million things that are due. And also just take screen breaks, like spend a lot of time outside of your computer and outside of your phone and stuff. Because often we have like our work and our like, I guess, fun stuff online. So it's really difficult to take a break and it can become a little bit overwhelming. So just remember to take those breaks because journalism right now and always, I guess, will always be online. So it's important to kind of take a break and take a breather from all those things.
Excellent points again. Okay, Saturn, you next.
I would say the hardest thing about first year for me was kind of like what we talked about earlier about an important thing to know, which is being really hard on myself. I found that the hardest thing to do was to go easy on myself and remind myself that it is just first year. And that, like Nicole said, it is a marathon and not a sprint. And also I often had to remind myself that, maybe I shouldn't say this, but that I don't actually need to be in school to be a journalist. Like, I can be a journalist without this program. I can be a journalist without this school. I'm a writer, and nobody has to say that I'm a writer. I decide that I'm a writer because I write. And so the hardest thing for first year for me was reminding myself that no matter what critiques I get, although often very useful, no matter what happens, I'm still a writer. And I can still do this outside of this program if I want to. So reminding myself that this program doesn't dictate who I am. It doesn't, that piece of paper you get at the end of your 4 years doesn't somehow all of a sudden make you a journalist. You are a journalist. You are a writer. You're already there.
Thanks for that, Saturn. Really important points. And I'm glad you did feel comfortable enough to share that, because I think one of the things that I really enjoy talking about is sort of the changing role of journalists and who gets to decide who's a journalist and who gets to decide what is journalism. Those are some really important questions that need to be talked about. And there are some issues within traditional journalistic outlets and in the industry itself and how we think about journalism that do need to be addressed and discussed. So thank you very much for bringing that up. Madeline, what would you like to add?
I feel like the hardest part was kind of tied into online for me because personally I'm on the other side of the country. So kind of the physical distance between me and the school kind of built a psychological distance for me as well. It was kind of hard for me to connect with my teachers, my peers, kind of in a sense, because I wasn't even like the farthest away either, but because there was kind of that distance between the school and kind of the classroom in a sense, it felt a little bit farther away than it was actually, because everything was online. It was difficult to connect with like kind of every aspect of school, honestly, except for the academic portion, because it just felt so far away that I couldn't really meet up with my classmates or make friends in a kind of physical way. And I know personally for me, that's kind of a really important aspect of connecting with people, is meeting up with them and kind of sharing things and seeing their body language. And that was kind of difficult to,
Sorry about my dogs.
All good. Kind of just that connection aspect was a little bit difficult to grasp because of the distance and because of the fact that everything was on a screen rather than in person. And also the time difference between classes was also kind of difficult, but that was manageable.
Really good points, though, because I think, especially coming into first year, I'm sure your expectation, as you imagined what your first year of university experience was going to be like, did not involve, being on Zoom 10 hours a day or whatever it was, and not being able even just to go grab a coffee or a drink or something on campus. Like it is very challenging, and we will, and just try to assure people coming into first, we will try our best to have some moments online and do some things to build community and give you a sense of getting to know people beyond just seeing them in this box in Zoom in the classroom. But I do recognize it is very challenging, and I just feel for everyone, for your group going in from first year to second year, and for the first years coming in, that it's not the experience that it should be, but we will try to do our best. And the other thing is, reach out if you need help, though, too. If you are feeling isolated, if you feel that you do need some help in forming, friendships, or even just figuring out how to work this way in this online platform that we're sort of confined to at this point, please do, for anyone who's coming into the program, reach out. But thanks so much for that, Madeline. Banna, you're up next. The hardest thing about first year.
Okay, so the hardest thing about university, there's so much I could say. I could write a whole book about it if I wanted to. For me, it would probably be prioritizing my mental health and realizing, and not being so hard on myself, because I like to be around people, but being online on my phone and on my laptop for 10 hours a day was really stressful. I I'm also a writer for like publications. So like I write for a sports page, and on top of school and like studying for exams, plus writing, and plus being involved in other ways around the School of Journalism it took a really big toll on my mental health. Where there was days where I'm gonna be honest, like there was days where I just break down and cry because I just couldn't handle it. And I think people need to like realize like it's okay to talk about your mental health. I feel like there's a stigma around it a lot. Even if you're a journalist, there's a stigma around mental health, and I feel like people need to realize like it's okay to be honest. It's okay that you cry. I mean, I broke down in class when we were listening about something. I broke down in class, but it's okay. When it comes to grades, I honestly my grades were like garbage, I would say. But I realized like, like these grades do not define me as a person. I'm new to this. I've never written an article in my life. So these grades are just telling me like you're good, but there's some things you could fix. So yeah, that's really it. Yeah.
Thanks for being so honest about that, Vanna. And yes, definitely people do get very concerned about their grades. It's a natural thing. You want to do well. You want that evidence that you have done well. What's a little bit different, I think, especially in the School of Journalism, is that a lot of the times you're being marked on a much tougher scale than you were in high school as well. There's an expectation, not to be at a professional level, but getting you to that professional level. So you might find that your marks aren't exactly what you expected or are used to coming in from high school. The important thing again is we'll go back to I'm really enjoying our metaphor of the not a sprint, but a marathon. So we'll just stick with that. But again, the idea that, you learn from mistakes, you take the feedback, you learn that different people expect different things when it comes to writing as well. What one person might love, somebody else might say, this needs improvement, or I don't like it this way. And that is true to what happens in a newsroom. I used to be a broadcast news writer, and you would have to, you could write one thing for someone who would tell you it was fantastic, and then someone who would tell you that they hated it. So it really is a knack that you develop for writing for a specific person, writing for a specific target audience, knowing the things that are fundamental, that are important in terms of ensuring that you've got good context and your research is solid. And you've done the things that you need to do to make sure that, fundamentally what you've written or what you're sharing is good information. But again, it's a subjective art. There are different opinions on different types of writing. The other thing I really appreciated about what you shared was just how tough, like it was a tough year. And as you'll remember, I think it was actually Sanya's presentation that when we were in class, I also cried in class last year. I mean, there was a lot going on. There were a lot of heavy things with dealing with the pandemic and different people having issues in their family. Like there are all kinds of issues that come with the pandemic and just come with life and come with being in a high pressure program. So there's no shame in having emotion. There's no shame in feeling overwhelmed on certain occasions. I'm certainly there to help anyone who needs help, and please do feel free to reach out at any point for anyone who needs it, because it is important to acknowledge that journalism is a stressful environment. It's deadline driven. And again, with these extra factors of the pandemic and everything going on, it's important that we acknowledge that mental health is important, and that sometimes people aren't going to be at their best, and that's okay. And that we just all have to support each other and try to do the best that we can to give people the support that they need. All right, now I'll finish my tangent and get back to our next question. This one's a bit more fun. What was your favorite thing, or favorite thing / happiest moment in first year? And we'll start from the top again and go to Sanya.
My favorite part of first year was probably connecting with people in the program. And sorry. I think a lot of people, like a lot of my friends who were in different programs, they would talk about how it was difficult for them to meet people and talk to people. But thankfully, like our journalism group, like we all created like a WhatsApp group chat. So it became super easy to kind of talk to everyone through that and get to know people. And like at the end of the year, like I have so many people that I'm comfortable talking to. And I think that was the best part of it, because we were all going through it together. And then another part of that I really enjoyed was at the end of Nicole's journalism classes, we would do a dance party. So everyone, like one person would pick a song and then everybody would jam out. And I think that would be like the highlight of my day, because even if like towards the end of the semester, it would get super difficult, and there were so many things I was thinking about. Like, the dance party was just fun to just be there, be present, and just watch everybody like have a good time, and like kind of just forget about all the things that's like on my mind right now. So I think definitely meeting people and meeting the professors, just meeting everyone in general. The program does a really great job of just creating a really welcoming environment, and I really appreciated that, especially because we were online. So.
That's great. And yes, please let the dance parties continue. They were a lot of fun. And people watching this coming into first year are probably thinking, what? But it really is fun. And you'll see when we get to 103. And I'm hoping that the people that you're looking at, some of them at least, will come back and be guest dance party DJs. So, but we'll learn more about that later. Go ahead, Saturn. Your favorite thing or best thing from first year?
I love the dance parties as well. Definitely advocate for more of those. I will be showing up. It will happen. You will see me. But I think one of my favorite moments, which happened a few times throughout the program, was, it might sound strange, but it was the fact that everyone was so far away from each other, just communicating over a computer or laptop. They just feel really far. Some of the people in our program were in India, some of them were across Canada, some of them were in the US, lots of other places too. And so they're really far, but having them on the computer and on the laptop right in front of you created this kind of, I perceived it as like a false closeness where you are right in front of me, but you're really not. And that took some getting used to in the beginning of the program, because I never had internet friends before this program, before this year of online learning. I don't know about anyone else, but I didn't have internet friends before. And now I have many internet friends. So, and they're still internet friends. We have not met yet, and that's exciting. But back to my point, which is that this false closeness that I felt, that quickly dissipated when, as a collective group in our program, like Nicole said, it wasn't always easy. It was hard a lot of the time. There was a lot of tension around certain instances, around COVID, around certain things that happened in the program that felt unfair to some people and were honestly not okay. And the fact that they weren't okay made it that we could all come together collectively from this place of living through COVID together, going through this program during COVID together, and kind of eradicating this false closeness. And it became like an authentic closeness. Like, we were able to actually connect, I think, truly, in a way that didn't feel like we were just connecting over a computer. It felt like we were really seeing each other for like actual living people, not just people in the screens. And that was probably one of my favorite moments of the year, was getting to truly connect with my classmates.
That's awesome, Saturn. And I will say the same thing. I was also, I'm going to butt in before Madeline gets to go, but I just wanted to say that it was one of my concerns teaching a big class like 103 was normally, you really do build relationships with people in the classroom. And I was concerned about how this would work online. And I've said to many people, I cannot believe the connections I feel on my end anyways, that I've made with so many students, and that feeling of closeness and real community that was built in 103 and 105 from the classes I was teaching anyways, that just really made me so happy and made me look forward to Wednesday mornings and being able to check in and see how everyone was doing, and genuinely see how they're doing too. And one thing I hope that people from first year will bring through too is that, particularly in my classes, you don't have to agree with what I say. I want to hear your ideas. I want to know if there is something you have an issue. I'm totally open to the idea of, and maybe you've identified something that I haven't thought of, but it really is a problem, and I want to know about that. So do feel free. Community means that we get to share ideas, even if we don't always agree on what those ideas might be, and that's something really important. So Madeline, go ahead.
I feel like my most favorite part about first year was kind of just getting to know the future of journalism, because everyone in the program is kind of working towards a future journalism that is more accepting, more diverse, and more kind of, in a sense, valuable to our views and what we believe as a society. The program itself, everyone in the program there's honestly so many diverse faces and opinions, and kind of everyone was brought up differently. So it was really good to see in, like, for example, in the 103 classes, whenever we had kind of in-depth discussions about either current topics or just something that's happening or something that came up in the class, there was so many different kind of opinions or kind of views on it. And it was good to kind of bring that together and kind of just see what everyone stood for and kind of see what everyone thought about a certain topic. And it's just because I remember, like, the past year, there was a lot of things that happened, and whether they were for good or for bad, we all kind of stood together, and we kind of, in a sense, fought for what we believed was right. And it was just really good to see that, because journalism, to be very honest, like, journalism out there, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of acceptance, in terms of diversity, in terms of just gathering the views of many people or more people. There definitely needs to be work that is done. And it was just really good to see how the future of journalism, I feel like I'm very optimistic on the future of journalism from the past year and from all of the discussions that we've had in class and even outside of class in group chats and in other environments. Just seeing kind of the people that are going into journalism and the people that are going to be professional journalists in the future makes me really optimistic for the future.
Very well said, Madeline, and I entirely agree. I bragged about all of you first years that are going into second year in many circles, talking about how fantastic the students are who are coming into the School of Journalism, and that they're going to be the force of much needed and excellent change. And I just enjoyed learning so much from you, as much as I hope you enjoyed being in the classroom and learning from me. So people who are coming into the program, again, just know that your opinion is valued, and that everyone does recognize the need for change and moving forward. So all of that is very positive stuff. Thanks for that, Madeline. All right, Vanna, now you.
Okay. So I also love the dance parties. The dance parties were, I think, the greatest thing. I always had my camera on in class, and I'd be dancing or I'd be singing along. It felt like doing karaoke in my bedroom every day. So that is one thing. And also touching on what Madeline said, I really, like, my favorite part of being in journalism was realizing, like, that it is changing, especially me being a Black woman going into journalism. I really thought, like, I would not be getting opportunities, and I would be, like, really get like crap for, like, things I write about. My opinions weren't valued, and but I realized, like, that's not the case, and my opinions are valued, especially during times when, like, racism played a big part in what's been going on, especially within the Black and Asian communities. Like, I realized, like, and seeing a lot of us be from those communities and seeing how we are changing, like, the stigma of journalism, of how, like, it's a predominantly, like, white male, like, community. Like, it's basically, if you see it, but now it's changing. You see a lot more women, especially, like, I want to be in sports journalism, but I'm kind of changing into, like, pop culture journalism, entertainment journalism, and there's not a lot of Black sports reporters, but now it's changing because I've been seeing it, especially on Sportsnet when I watch my favorite team. I hope some of you guys are Raptors fans. If you are, let me know. But I've been seeing a lot of, like, female reporters, especially women of color in sports, and it's the greatest thing to see, knowing, like, I can be in their chair one day, and I could be changing the world, or, like, even a little kid's dream to be a journalist or whatnot, like, that I could be an inspiration. And I think that's what the best thing about journalism is that realizing that I am going to be an inspiration for the rest of the kids for the first years, for kids who are just watching TV with their parents. So yeah.
That's awesome. So well said, Vanna. Okay, so we're running out of time, but there's a couple of things I wanted to make sure that we address. One was I said we would explain what the JCU was. So do you want to talk about that, Sonia, quickly?
Yes. So the JCU is basically the School of Journalism's journalism course union. Sorry. So what they do is they kind of connect the students in the program to resources and each other. So a lot of that would be examples of panels with other journalists and events. I know at the beginning of the year they did a paint night for the new students and everything. That was really fun. So honestly, I would think of it kind of as a hub for all the resources that you may want to like look into when it comes to the School of Journalism. I think it's a very good resource to follow on your platforms and everything because it will keep you updated on what's going on and also gives you a good opportunity to kind of share your work and they are always sharing resources. So I think that's basically what the JCU is.
And what a perfect segue in terms of sharing work for Madeline to talk about the eye opener.
Yeah, so on in the School of Journalism and even outside of the School of Journalism in the university, there's a lot of different publications with a lot of different niches. So honestly, if you're interested in one thing, you will probably find a publication or a section of a publication that talks about that one thing. So in first year, you kind of learn a lot of the basics of news writing. There's a lot of structure like inverted pyramid, which you will know what it is if you don't know already. But in like class, you basically write a lot of basic things like structure of news writing, and not everyone is interested in that, and that's okay. These like kind of outside school publications allow you to kind of find what you're interested in and allow you to create content, you can write things, you can create graphics, you can take photos, you can kind of just discover your interests in journalism and center your outside of class writing on that. So the Eye Opener is one of the biggest publications at the university, and there's a lot of different sections in the publication itself. There's even news, and there's also arts and culture, there's features, there's community pieces. So it's a really good way to kind of get yourself out there, and because the community itself is really friendly, and the editors are all really friendly, and it's kind of a very casual environment as well. So it's a really good way to get yourself out there and kind of write things that are based more on your interests. If news is not your thing, news can be your thing. That can definitely be your thing. We all need news reporters out there. But yeah, not just the Eye Opener. There's lots of publications that I can't even name all of them because there's just so many flying around. Writing for publications, I feel like, was one of my favorite parts about entering the university kind of scene and kind of connecting with people that aren't in my year, because it was kind of difficult to do that, especially with online, because you're not able to meet up with different people and you're not able to kind of go to events physically. So it was a really good way to connect with people in upper years. I know a bunch of the editors are also School of Journalism students, but they're in like third, fourth, second year. So it was a really good way to personally write things that were based on my interests, and as well as connect with other people in the School of Journalism and even outside of the School of Journalism as well, because these publications usually aren't limited to journalism kids. You can be from any program and you can write articles for the Eye or even for other publications as well. So I feel like if you want to write things outside of news, or if you want to kind of get your name out there, get some bylines, then it's a really good way to kind of expand on your writing. And yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Madeline. Okay, so does anyone have any, I'm just going to say, does anyone have any last thoughts? And I'm quickly going to bring in a special guest. So one moment, please. Did anyone have anything they want to add? You can talk while I'm going. If not, let the excitement build for what's about to happen.
Yeah, I can add something. I think what Vanna was saying earlier about how she didn't really see, women of color in like sports journalism and stuff like that. I definitely felt that coming into the program. I was kind of nervous because I'm like a visual Muslim. So I was kind of nervous that I would have to kind of conform to like not sharing my views or not talking about things that I'm passionate about just so I can find work and stuff. And I feel like it definitely isn't like that. I think what everyone here has said is like just be yourself, be confident in who you are because journalism is exceedingly becoming more and more diverse as it should. And I think it's really important to kind of understand that and think that it's okay to be yourself.
And sorry, I waited to come on because you were saying such important stuff, and I didn't want to distract from that by bringing my dog in the shot. But I thought everyone should meet Chester because Chester often comes to the dance party in JRN 103. So you might see him. I also have another dog named Stanley, who you might have seen just flash through the shot a second ago there. And you heard barking earlier, but I do Moments of Zen every week in the lectures, the recorded lectures that have a picture of Stanley and Chester usually. So they're just a little piece of, as everything is really stressful and hard to manage. I'm trying to get Chester back in the shot. Chester, don't be shy. These guys are also a good resource in terms of, one day I can bring them on campus maybe, we'll see.
Oh,
all right.
Please do.
Please do.
All right, well, Chester and I guess we'll wrap things up by saying thank
Nicole,
you.
can I actually share one thing?
Oh,
Just
of
one
course,
quick
Anna,
thing.
go ahead, yeah.
So I know like the first years are probably like, oh, these are a bunch of like second year students. Why are they like sharing this? But like, I feel like it's good for us, like as second years to know, like if you guys need help, like getting to know people, like you can always reach out to us. It may be hard finding our like social media handles, but like we could drop in the class one day if Nicole allows
I'm
that.
counting on it. Never mind allowing it. Yeah, please come back every week if you want.
We could drop in and we could like help you guys like get to like connect with each other, especially me and Sanya. We're in the JCU, and since I'm the social media lead, I'll be posting a lot on like their social media page. So if you guys ever have any questions, just shoot a quick DM message, or you'll see our ads because we do like a welcome to the team post. So honestly, don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're not scary. I promise you, we're like the least scary group you could possibly find at Ryerson. So yeah, I just feel like that's important because a lot of people, because I wish I had that when I went into first year, being able to like connect with the older years, and it was hard for me and I was kind of scared. I was like, oh, they're gonna judge me. They're gonna think I'm the first year. They won't want to talk to me. But honestly, it's not true. It's just a thing that everyone thinks about university. But trust me, like we're open to help you guys like get comfortable. So yeah, just thought I should put that out there.
And go to events.
Yeah, go to our events. Go to events. That helps a lot. Yeah, try to write for pages, sports pages, music pages. The eye opener, as Madeline said, like there's everything you could do, and it's gonna help you connect with so many people. So yeah.
Any other last thoughts? Okay. Well, I would like to add too. So someone who's been helping us with this recording, who you don't see right now, is Lindsay Hanna, who is a member of our tech staff and is absolutely fabulous and will help you in so many ways. You don't even know you're going to need help yet. So thank you to Lindsay for helping us with this. And also, I was thinking, you were just talking about social media handles. What we can do is actually put them up underneath our pictures at this point afterwards. So I'll do mine first and just let you know, Twitter and Instagram, it's at Nicole Blanchett. Basically, my Instagram feed is pictures of my dogs, and Twitter is where I talk more about journalism. Go ahead, Sanya.
My Instagram is SANIALI, and then my Twitter is Sanya X Elise.
Saturn.
You can find me on Instagram at femishfeminist. So like fem, FEMMEISH feminist. And then you can find me on Twitter, same thing, but only one M because they have a character cap. So FEMEISH feminist.
Thank you, Saturn. Madeline?
You can find me both on Instagram and Twitter as Mads Liao, so MadsLiao. Yeah.
Great. And Vanna?
So you can find me on Instagram as Banayirgalem. So that's BANAYIRGALEM, like M as in Mary, because people confuse that. And on Twitter, you can find me at BXS8V. And yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, I will be holding this wonderful panel to their promises of coming to visit 103 so that you can meet them in the classroom environment and have them be DJs for our dance party, which is, as you will find out, a very important part of the class. Anyways, thank you so much for spending your time to do this today. It's been wonderful to see you and talk with you. And I hope that all of the first years coming into the School of Journalism have found this very helpful. And we will see you in a few short weeks. Welcome to the School of Journalism.